If you're on your GLP medications, on Mounjaro and Wegovy, and you're not sure if you're on the right dose, are you on the right one? What do you need to do next? I'm Zeinab, I'm the pharmacist from Pill Sorted, and I'll explain all the different options out there. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna start this time with 4 stories, okay? These are stories of our patients. Then I'll explain all the different things that we look at, and I'll explain what are the options that we can offer. The first one, let's talk about Sarah. Sarah has been on Mounjaro for 8 months and she's lost 2.5 stones and she feels absolutely great. When the costs changed, she switched to Wegovy. Now she's been on Wegovy for 3 months and she's really not sure what to do next. She's on a crossroad. So this is the one that I call the switcher stories. The next one is about James. James has been on Wegovy for over a year. He has lost 4 stones, and the last 3 months though, the scales haven't moved. He's really not sure what to do now. These are the stories of people who the scales stayed the same, the plateau. Third story is about Priya. Priya been on Mounjaro for 4 months. The weight loss was amazing, but the side effects really got to her. So she had constipation all the time, nausea, feeling tired, and she really wants to know her different options. Is there anything she can do other than stopping? That's the side effect stories. The fourth one is about Mark. So Mark has done an incredible journey. He's been on it for 2 years and he's reached his healthy weight, his target goal. He's never been in the healthy weight for the past 15 years, so he's extremely happy, but he really doesn't know what to do now. So these are the goal reacher stories. So your story might be either of these or a combination of those, because at any stage of your journey you might be close to one of these scenarios. What I want to help you realize is it's so different person to person. Now I want to go into more depth and explain what are the things that we look at to support you with that right decision. One of the first ones is actually you. Your journey is very different from somebody else's journey. The things that we look at in your journey are how long you've started your weight loss journey. It might be that you started without medications beforehand, lost a couple of pounds or a couple of stones, then you started the GLP injection. So how much weight you've lost in total across how long a time are 2 very important markers for yourself. Plus, if someone's been on one medication for 18 months, is very different from someone who's been on the medication for 3 months. Now, the other thing is, what strength of the medication have you gone high up to? For example, if you've reached good results just on the lower doses, that's a very different outcome than not seeing much of a difference until you reach to the higher doses and then seeing the weight coming off. And the other one is, how are you taking the medication? So adherence again is really important. If someone keeps on taking it regularly at the same time like clockwork, or you've had some breaks in between, you've had it on and off a couple of times. So these are the important things about yourself and your own journey. Then it's about the side effects and the tolerability. So what I mean is what are the most common side effects that I see? By far the most common side effect that I see across all of the GLP injections is constipation, and it's the one that doesn't get clearer or easier even throughout the treatment, whereas the other side effects like nausea and fatigue, you usually get used to it. So it's usually with increased overdose or at the beginning of the injection, so 2 to 3 days after the injection, you see those side effects a little bit more, but eventually your body gets adapted to it and you'll see less of it. The most important rule is, if there is side effects, we need to deal with it and handle it before we start prescribing again or increasing the dose. The other important thing is about the medications you take. So again, person to person is very different. What you take right now, what medical background that you have is very important. So if you have chronic conditions like high blood pressure, like underactive thyroid, these are really important things. If you have conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, these are important as well. So the medications that you take are an important part of your journey. Also, the supplements that you take are really important. So there are a couple of supplements that we know are beneficial for the weight loss journey, but knowing the full picture of all the things that you take are an important point in the record. for yourself. Now, the other one is about appetite. So what is a good appetite is something that comes up time and time again. It might be that you're not used to having more than 2 meals a day. So a quick breakfast in the morning and then a proper meal time at the evening when you come back home from work. But again, person to person is quite different. A good appetite suppression that we're looking for is that you can have your regular meals, but you can control your portion size. What I don't want to happen is that the suppression is too strong, so you forget about eating and drinking throughout the whole day. So that's not good. It's not sustainable. We're looking for a gradual and sustainable weight loss, not starving. The other important thing is about day-to-day energy. Do you feel strong enough to go about your day? It's interesting because some people, when they actually lose that weight, they feel much more full of energy. They don't have to move around so much weight, so that gives them much more agility. But on the other hand, if it goes too much or if the dose of the injection is too high, that usually translates itself into be extremely tired throughout the day. So that shows that you're not getting enough energy to make this amazing machine of the body actually work. And the other thing is your general well-being. So one thing that we look at is, do you look gaunt? Does your skin look vibrant? Have you invested in building muscle? One of the most important things for us is not losing muscle mass, because building muscles takes a lot of time and is the most important thing that will help you keep the weight off for the long run. So if you lose too much muscle, it will generally look like very thin arms and legs, but still a bit chubby in the middle. But if you have invested that time to actually build muscles, it will look much more leaner all across. And the other one is about practical goals. So it's really important to talk about the weight loss journey and to know where you are on that weight loss journey. So everybody's weight loss graph would look like a very steep start, and it will start plateauing and slowing down. So that's not a problem. That's absolutely normal. It's part of the biology and the way that the weight loss actually works. So we're expecting the weight loss to slow down, especially the closer that you get to the healthy BMI and your goal target. So having a practical target is really important. And at that time that actually the weight loss slows down is the right time to start investing on building muscle. What is your goal that you want to reach to? Is there any time constraint behind it? Is it that you're getting ready for a procedure or an important event in your life? Or is the goal something that you're aspiring to and you've never been before? Or is the goal that you've been most of your life and for whatever reason now you've put on a couple of pounds and you want to get back to it? These are two very different goals, and we do need to be more practical and realistic about them. One of the other important things about the goal is actually mindset. So if someone's been really working hard over 2 years, they've lost significant amounts of weight, and I'm talking like 5 stones, 6 stones, these are amazing outcomes, but then it turns into an obsession that I need to lose that couple more pounds, and it doesn't stop. So every month is a new target of a couple more pounds down. That's not practical, and it's become more of an obsession. So supporting and getting you to the right goal and staying at the right goal is an important thing that we look at as well. And another thing that keeps coming up is about the affordability. So that is an important part of our life. So like anything else, we plan for it. How much do we need to put aside for our health, for this medication, for the supplements, for the gym membership, for whatever investment that we need to do, both times and monetary? And for both these injections, the higher doses are more expensive. So I'm gonna go on to the clinical aspects that make a difference when we want to talk about the differences between Mounjaro and Wegovy and the dosages for yourselves. Okay, so both Mounjaro and Wegovy have got the GLP effect. What does that mean? They are both the glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists. Okay, so that's what we call the GLP part, and they mimic a natural hormone that makes you feel fuller for much longer. So the important thing is both of them do slow down your digestion and your appetite be much more suppressed, and both of them help your body burn the calories from your food much more efficiently. So they help with the insulin regulation, they help with your body's pathways to make the energy more available to your cells instead of being stored away in the fat cells. The Mounjaro has got the added GIP effect, which is the glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. So basically it makes your body become less resistant to insulin. So it helps with that glucose regulation, and it helps with the pathway that helps release the energy from those fat cells. So that means that the rate of weight loss on the Mounjaro will be faster than on Wegovy. The other thing is, because of this dual action, it might be that although their side effect profiles are very much similar to each other, so constipation, nausea are the most common, the Mounjaro might have more pronounced side effects than Wegovy. Again, person to person is very different. Even that rate of weight loss can be different from the Mounjaro to the Wegovy in different people. The important thing about the rate of weight loss is thinking about your weight gain as a chronic and relapsing condition. Okay, so that's how we deal with it. Think of it more like a blood pressure medicine instead of a paracetamol. You can come off paracetamol whenever you want, but you cannot stop your blood pressure medicine on a high dose and whenever you fancy. Okay, so it's really important to think about it as a blood pressure medicine. The other thing is, like any chronic condition, a combination of lifestyle changes and an effective medicine is the most successful way to be able to manage. So my point is, when we talk about the rate of weight loss, we're not thinking about starving you fast, because that's not going to be enough time to help you put that healthy habits in place. So an example of a story is actually happened today. A gentleman lost 15 kilos in 6 months, and he stopped abruptly on the 7.5 milligram of Mounjaro, and within 2 months he'd put half of that weight back on again. I think the key missing part here is the lifestyle. So building healthy habits takes longer than 6 months, and that was obviously something that he hadn't invested enough on. Let's talk about dosages and switching. When we're talking about switching between Mounjaro and Wegovy or the other way around, the key important thing for us is making sure that side effects don't come up, so we don't have an increase in the side effects. Hence we put out the washout periods, and hence they're not exactly the same strength. So what is the equivalent dose is very much about the clinical judgment and to make sure that we keep you safe, not bringing up side effects for you. The other one is not too much of an appetite fluctuation. So I understand that sometimes starting again feels too much of a problem, or it really depends on what's the strength of the medicine that you have been. But what we discussed before that is, what is the appetite suppression that you're having right now? So all of those are important, and we consider it as well. So between not bringing up more of a side effect and not having too much of an appetite fluctuation, we need to find the right clinical switching dose. So the last one that I want to talk about is about the dosaging. The dosage instructions about tapering up and tapering down has not been the best and the clearest outside of the clinical settings. So there's a lot of information that is coming from, real-time experiences as well, but it's always been not sensible to move up the doses if you have any side effects. So I remember there was a lot of feedback in between, the social media posts and all of that if you see a side effect on a dose, just soldier through, go up a dose. That's never the good solution. It doesn't work in any chronic condition, and certainly doesn't work for the GLPs either. So that's an important thing. How do we taper up and how do we taper down? Because that's equally as important. When you have lost a significant amount of weight, you're 3 stones, 4 stones, 5 stones less than what you were, you don't need that much medicine. And this medicine is very much weight sensitive. like a lot of other medications, like your blood pressure medicine, like your thyroid medicine, these medicines are sensitive to how much of you is there. So when you've lost weight, it's just as important to adjust the dose and make sure that we taper it down on time. If the higher doses was effective when you were a couple of stones higher, it really doesn't mean that you need that much of it now that you've done this fantastic work and you've lost weight. And I wanted to give a little bit of an update about the quick pen modification of Mounjaro that's going to start from April. So the plunger is going to be looking different. There will be less liquid in the pens. This is a new modification to the pen. There's nothing wrong with the pen. They'll be exactly the same. It'll have the 4 dosages inside it, but you will realize that the plunger is deeper down and there will be less liquids in the pen. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the new options that you're going to have, and that is the oral tablet. They're both going to be available in the UK from 2026, so anytime soon. One of them is the oral Wegovy. So it's the same molecule, the semaglutide, that's the generic of it, and the other one is the orforgliptin. So I'm going to explain each of them and what we'd expect. So the oral semaglutide as a tablet has actually been around since 2019 for different indications other than weight loss, but we do have that experience out there with patients with the semaglutide, and it is the peptide. It's got a very unique formulation that makes the peptide survive and actually work even in the oral form, but it does bring some restrictions in that you do need to have it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach with a little bit of water. Okay, so that's how that oral tablet works, but in terms of effectiveness, it supports weight loss. So in the Oasis trial, that was the 25 milligram of it was tested, it showed around 13% weight loss over 64 weeks. So it's quite an effective medication. The other oral tablet that's going to be available is called the orforgliptin. Now, this is a totally new chemical. We don't have the experience out there. So if you think about a lock and key model, both of them work on the same lock, but they're totally different keys. So it's an interesting one to see how it works. It's not peptide, it's a chemical. So orforgliptin has just been approved by the FDA April 2026. It will be available in the UK, but probably a later time than the Wegovy will be in the UK. Orforgliptin in the Attain trial has shown patients lost an average of 27 pounds, around 7.9% of their body weight in 72 weeks. Other interesting thing about the orforgliptin is you do not have restrictions on when to take it. So you can take it anytime in the day, doesn't matter how far it is from the food or drinking, so that's got less of a limitation. In terms of side effects, there's more side effects being reported with the orforgliptin in comparison to the Wegovy, but both of them are similar to the GLP injections that are out there. They're more gastrointestinal side effects like constipation. So now we finally get to the question of what are your options? Okay, the first option can be just staying on your current medication and on the right dose. Saying that, you can stay on the higher doses even for maintenance. Okay, that's perfectly fine. The reality is, in practice, what we see is it's very difficult to stop losing weight while you're still on the higher doses. So if we see that you're getting towards the bottom side of a healthy BMI, or you don't look as thriving as you should be, or you don't look healthy, or you're having too many side effects, we will strongly encourage you to start monitoring your calorie intake very carefully and encourage you to taper down the medication dose, because again, this is a chronic and relapsing condition. The best way to maintain a chronic condition is to find that minimum effective dose of the medicine while your lifestyle is a more proactive role. The second option, if you want to switch between Mounjaro and Wegovy, again, that's perfectly fine in most cases. We will carefully evaluate, support you, make the right decision. There will be a little bit of fluctuation because again, we want to balance out the risk of not bringing up side effects with not having too much of fluctuation with the appetite. And if this switch is happening for the second time, we would strongly suggest to start again from the lower dose dose so that we make sure that it is your body's adapting well. And it's not about a downgrade, it's not about an upgrade, it's more about finding the right medicine in your case. So it might be that the side effects are too pronounced in one, it might be that you need more time to do a gradual one and you need to focus on muscle building, so you don't need that much of it, or so we'll support you with that switch. And the third one might be you reach where you want to be, you want to be on the maintenance for a little bit and then actually stop. That's perfectly fine. If we look back again into that blood pressure example, people can come off their blood pressure medications once they've made significant changes in their lifestyle. The same can happen with your weight loss. We can support you with that. So even when you reach your goal weight, it's really important to give yourself time to find that right balance in the maintenance. So are you having good control? Are you able to have your regular meals and you feel in control of your portion sizes? You don't have too much of a food noise, and if you see a couple of pounds piling up, you know how to control it and bring it back. These are the important things in maintenance. Plus, have you invested onto that muscle building? It doesn't need to be gym work and really dense, but it does need to be about getting your core muscles strong. Another important thing for the maintenance is once we found that minimum effective dose of the medicine, then we will support you with gradual and structured breaks. Okay, so in that structured breaks, we can help you find the balance, how you're doing when you come off the medicine for a couple of weeks. But again, it's much easier once we've had that tapering down gradual assessment so that you're on the least reliant dose. I understand your worry when you think about all the hard effort that you've put in and you don't want to see that weight coming back, and that's a real genuine worry. The important thing is this is a chronic and relapsing condition. It's not your fault, it's not your willpower. You will see a little bit of fluctuations. We look at how much relapse has happened in your weight within a 2-year and 5-year period, okay? And what we're trying to do with all of this maintenance and tapering off and stopping eventually is to help you have the best success throughout that 2-year and 5-year window. So building on those lifestyle, building on muscles, hydration, high protein are the really important foundations that will support you, as well as the medication. But don't worry, okay? So relapse is a natural part of this condition. So you might need to try this a couple of times. You come off it, you go back on it until you find the good rhythm. As a recap, there is a lot that goes into the different options that you can choose from. We've really personalized it depending on your needs and your clinical best. If you've got any questions anytime, just feel free to reach out to us for that clinician-led health advice. Thank you.